Mason Foster, who we were just talking about then, struggling with his starts, but he will line up on pole position, so hopefully he can get away well there. Lining up next to him is Ethan Sparks, who's currently third in the championship on the number 62. He's second on the front row. Ronnie Harris is then in third, ahead of the number 72 of Samuel Munson, who'll line up in fourth spot. On the third row of the grid, Ollie Horner will lead that row, ahead of Clayton Edmonds, and the number 100 of Cameron Sewell in seventh spot. Number 67 of Jacob Stevenson is eighth on the grid, ahead of Harrison McKay and Blake Wilson, rounding out your top 10. Warwick Brady then, who we saw earlier on today, he's 11th, ahead of Charlie Huntingford in 12th, Casey Sperry, Harry Payne and Philip Sorowak in 15th spot. Ollie Sims then lining up just next to him. He's 16th, ahead of Aston Dean, Dominic Gardner and Azia Devine in 19th place, and rounding out your grid.
Yep, absolutely so. And yep, Mason Foster needs to work on his starts, but he's been very strong, picking up some good results. Currently second in the championship on 61 points. The man leading the championship is Ronnie Harris, who will line up third. And watch out for I've said it yesterday a couple of times, the beautiful white and red liveried bike, and looking very classic, very nice indeed. And Ronnie had a couple of really decent results yesterday, so that's why he finds himself at the top of the standings. And coming from third, he's had some very, very strong starts. So Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks will have to look behind, because Ronnie Harris will be right on their tail from the start.
Absolutely. Ronnie Harris, your championship leader, will be looking for another win. He took the win yesterday in the final race. All top three in the championship have all taken a win, so it'd be interesting to see if Samuel Munson can get in and join the party. He's not too far behind, fourth spot on the grid, so he'll be looking to try and get a podium and try and mix it in with these guys. But it's these top three who have been in an absolute world of their own this weekend. As they look to the flag, the revs are rising and they are away. Mason Foster looks to have a decent start this time. He's held on to the lead, so he's definitely been working on those starts. Mason Foster then it is that holds the lead ahead of Ethan Sparks. Looks like we have a change for third place. Ronnie Harris has dropped back to fourth spot, and that's the number 146 who's made his way up into third. That's Clayton Edmonds, but Ronnie Harris is just reclaiming his third spot to make sure that Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris doesn't get, Mason Foster doesn't get away. We did see a runaway winner yesterday in Ronnie Harris, so now Mason Foster with a good start. Perhaps we might see a runaway winner in the form of Mason Foster. Yep,
Mason Foster is in the perfect place, leading the first lap. Ethan Sparks has now got Ronnie Harris, who had a dreadful start, down to fifth place at turn 2, has managed to recover back up to third by the end of the first lap, and he's now right on the tail of Ethan Sparks as they go into lap 2. And Ronnie Harris leading the championship so far. The number 66 rider is going to put the pressure on Ethan Sparks, but those two battling as Ronnie Harris gets alongside as they go out of the hairpin over the crest into the double right-hander. And
he's so good coming out of that corner. He manages to turn it tight and get a real good drive, and that's how he got past Clayton Edmonds on that last lap. So it's definitely something to watch out for, and he's able to do it here as well. He's able to just hold a tighter line and get that drive onto the straight, which will really help him when he gets to the breaking point of any corner on this circuit.
Absolutely so, but it is Mason Foster leading this one. Good gap with Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris taking it to each other over second place. Ollie Horder is back in fourth place, I believe it is. Ollie Horner in fourth once again, which is a position that he's held, I believe, every race so far. So Ollie Horner, consistent points, but he will be eyeing up a podium. But to do so, he's going to have to close in on this drive-away top three with Mason Foster breaking away behind. It is Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris still going at each other, with Ronnie Harris just eyeing up Ethan Sparks down the back straight into penultimate corner, but not quite close enough to get a move. And we know behind with Ethan Sparks that even if he's in front or behind, he's not too shabby into that final two corners. Very late on the brakes. We've seen some really, really brilliant overtakes from him this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that classic one was the one where he took the win yesterday. Last lap, last corner, took the lunge and took the win. So yeah, some brilliant stuff from Ethan Sparks into that final corner. Ronnie Harris, though, looking absolutely determined to try and take this second spot away from him. Gets very close to him into the right-hander just after the hairpin onto this complex. Going into the back straight. Ronnie Harris getting very close behind Ethan Sparks now. He's trying to find his way past, doing well to study Ethan Sparks at the moment, but he needs to be careful because Mason Foster at the front here is just edging that lead out further and further as this race goes on.
Yeah, Ronnie Harris with a good run out of turn 2 and turn 3, gets up alongside, not quite close enough, but it is Mason Foster leading by 2.5 seconds over the 62 and the 66 of Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris. Ollie Horner is holding on to 4th place with a gap between himself and Clayton Edmonds. Samuel Munson is having a fight with Harrison McKay for 6th and 7th, whilst behind Cameron Sewell and Brady are battling over 8th and 9th. The number 199 machines in 8th and 9th. Blake Wilson rounding out your top 10 for the MK GP50s.
Sam Munson is just on screen there with the red bike, the number 72, just coming through the picture there. He seems to be struggling a little bit in this race. Down in 6th place at the moment, so yeah, a bit struggling for him. He started 4th on the grid, and we were talking at the beginning of the race and wondering if he could mix it with the front 3, but it just looks like he's struggling for pace in this one at the moment. Embroiled in a good battle, but I think he wanted it to be a little bit higher up.
Yeah, Samuel Munson of course had an issue on the mini motos earlier on, so perhaps that frustration still in his head, and he's just taking a while to get back into his rhythm, and he's currently in 6th place on circuit, looking at moving forward. We know that he's got the talent to do so, just needs to put it into practice. But the man that's starting to run away with it is Mason Foster. That's a 3-second lead. Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks split by less than a 1/10.5 of a second over the line, so it's getting mighty close between Ronnie Harris as he looks at making up some points to extend that championship lead, because with Mason Foster starting to run away with it, he's going to close in. Of course, those two split by 4 points in the championship battle at the moment after round 1, so Ronnie Harris needs to get a shift on and get past Ethan Sparks, but that's no mean feat. Gets up alongside on the exit of the hairpin, but Ethan Sparks able to get the power down earlier and holds on to the position.
Yeah, I think now it's going to be all about this battle for second place with the laps ticking. I don't think either of these guys are going to be able to bridge that gap to Mason Foster. Ronnie Harris, though, absolutely studying Ethan Sparks, having a look at absolutely everywhere where he can try and get through. Back markers now in this race that they're coming up to, so that could play a part in this race, as Ronnie Harris is still having a look at what he can do about Ethan Sparks. But Ronnie Harris looks like just caught in behind another rider that they're coming around to lap there. So very unfortunate for Ronnie Harris rather. Ethan Sparks has now got a little bit of breathing space ahead of Ronnie Harris. We saw that Ronnie could catch Ethan earlier in the race, but will he be able to do it again? As we say that, though, the gap between Sparks and Foster has also come down, so perhaps Foster also having a little bit of trouble coming through lap traffic.
Yep, absolutely so, but it is Mason Foster that leads this one with 3 laps to go, ahead of Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris in 2nd and 3rd. Ollie Horner in 4th, with Sammy Munson holding on to 5th place ahead of Clayton Edmonds. Warwick Brady in 7th ahead of Harrison McKay in 8th. Cameron Sewell and Blake Wilson round out your top 10. But it is Mason Foster that's looking as though he might add to his win tally from yesterday, and with that 3.5 second gap with 2.5 laps left to go, and Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris still fighting this race-long battle over 2nd place. It's allowed Mason just to drive away and just focus on his own race.
Yeah, 3 laps to go then for these guys as they head into the final corner. Once again, Ronnie Harris now right up onto the back wheel of Ethan Sparks. He's closed down that small gap that emerged at the beginning of the last lap. 2 laps to go then for these guys. Mason Foster looking very comfortable. 4-second lead, managed to stretch it out by another 2 seconds on that last lap. So comfortable lead for Mason Foster at the moment with 2 laps to go. Ronnie Harris, though, it's all about what he can do to get past Ethan Sparks. He gets right alongside him coming out of the hairpin once again, but still not quite enough to get underneath him into the right-hander before that last complex before the back straight. Right up on his back wheel, though, and he has been all race, so it's going to be really interesting to see where Ronnie Harris can make a move on Ethan Sparks.
Yeah, of course, it was Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris that had that mighty close finish in race 1 yesterday, and maybe that's in Ronnie Harris's head that this time I'm going to do it to Ethan. So will he make a lunge into the final corner? But it's Mason Foster leading us around for this one. The last tour of the lap here at Lydd in the MK Mini GP50 class, and Mason Foster has controlled this from the front. He's going to take a flag to flag victory. He's made his way through all the lap traffic without losing any time, and of course the battle behind with Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks, which is heating up. In fact, Ronnie Harris has got a really good run on Ethan Sparks down the back straight. Is he going to do the same thing to Ethan? But around the final corner and across the line comes Mason Foster. Behind it's going to be Ethan Sparks, who's going to go side by side, but he holds on to the second place. Ronnie Harris has to hold on for third. Just couldn't quite get the move done. Ollie Horner is going to come across the line and pick up another 4th place, so more consistent points there for Ollie. And behind, it's all going on. Clayton Edmonds, Warwick Brady, Cameron Stoll and Harrison McKay are all enjoying some battles between themselves, and with lap traffic, I believe, as well, making that get even closer. But across the line does come Sammy Munson in 5th, Warwick Brady in 6th, Clayton Edmonds in 7th, Cameron Stoll, Harrison McKay and Blake Wilson holding on to the top 10.
Brilliant defensive ride from Ethan Sparks. He covered his lines all race long and managed to defend from Ronnie Harris. Mason Foster, though, very different races. Very different race compared to the races he had yesterday. We asked at the beginning of this race what could he do if he could nail that start. Well, he nailed the start, and there it is confirmed. Mason Foster, who took the win with a hefty 3.6 second lead over Ethan Sparks. Ronnie Harris, a good 3rd place for him, your championship leader going into this race. Ollie Horner it is then that takes 4th spot ahead of Samuel Munson, who we were talking about earlier on, the number 72. He rounds out your top 5. The number 99 of Warwick Brady it was who took 6th place ahead of the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds. Cameron Stoll in 8th place, Harrison McKay and Blake Wilson rounding out your top 10.
Mason Foster really deserving of that one. The only rider into the 43s with a 43.942. Takes the fastest lap of the race. 0.4 of a second faster than Ethan Sparks and Ronnie Harris, whose best lap times were split by less than 0.02 of a second. So both of those guys pushing hard.
Mason Foster is then, you can see the number 88 just looking behind him, lining up on pole position and eager to get this race started, having picked up a win earlier on today.
Absolutely so, as the riders line up on the grid ready for this one, and we'll see who's got that grip off of the line down into the quick chicane to open up the lap. So yep, it's going to be Mason Foster on the pole with the clear run, and of course alongside him Ethan Sparks will be looking at another decent result for something that he's picked up quite a number of so far this weekend. And we'll see. Cautious, nervous, that might be the first lap here, but we're about to get going. Engine notes rising as the riders look to the lights, and off the line it looks as though it's a good start for Ronnie Harris, straight up from 3rd into the lead of this one. You can see everyone incredibly tentatively through the first 2 corners, but great start from Ronnie Harris, straight up from 3rd to first in the race. Really good job for all these guys to get through that initial starting process all in one piece now. So all these guys have now got to settle, find out where the grip is. They've had the formation lap and a warm-up lap to get a quick feel for what's going on here, but now is where they're really going to have to try and push their limits and find the grip here around this circuit. Number 72 there just in shot, that's Samuel Munson. He's had some good results this weekend, and a rider you can expect to see up the sharp end of this race. But as always, wet weather throws up some surprises in this race. Ronnie Harris then leading. He's picked up a win yesterday. Mason Foster, we know how quick he is, and Ethan Sparks currently in 3rd. And we have a rider down there. I think that is not good. That's the number 67 just being caught up in that crash there. That's Jacob Stevenson, unfortunately being caught up in another rider's crash there, so very unfortunate for him. All right, then round the line, across the line for the first time, Ronnie Harris is leading, but it looks like we have a red flag now, possibly due to that crash on the other side of the circuit. So quite
a dramatic start to this race then, Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely, but a perfect one for Ronnie Harris. Really, really strong getaway from the youngster off the line, and launched himself up past Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks into the first corner. So yeah, scythed his way through the middle of both riders, and yeah, so a great start there for the number 66 bike. And yeah, Ronnie, as you said, picked up a win already, very close with a couple of second place finishes as well. So yeah, it's seemingly doing very nicely on the wet as much as in the dry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all these riders at the front, they're all at the front of the championship for a reason. I know we've only had one round, but they're very well versed on these bikes at this point. We've seen how fast Ethan Sparks can be on the mini motos as well. So yeah, these guys trying to find where the grip is, not easy. We've had one crash so far, but it's to be expected in these race conditions, I believe. Yeah, absolutely. So. Just a big thank you, of course, to all the marshals that will be out there just helping out, of course, keeping these races going, and a lot of them now having to stand out there in the rain. So yeah, doing a stellar job, really helping out, and of course we couldn't get any of this going ahead without the help of a wonderful volunteer marshalling team. So yeah, everyone is coming round to the grid. We're still under red flag, so they'll be forming up once again, hopefully to get the race back underway. You can see a number of puddles starting to form on the circuit, especially on the exit of some of these corners. I mean, from the commentary box, we can look up at several corners, but especially the exit of turn 10, and there's a big puddle starting to form on the apex. And it's so what's standing water like? Of course, is aquaplaning becomes an issue, and of course just losing grip on the bike. Well, the main thing for these guys is when there is standing water, it's more difficult for these wet weather tyres to disperse the water when there's more of it. So going through standing water, like puddles we're seeing through there, it's harder for the tyres to find the grip, as they've got to disperse even more water to be able to find that grip, to grip and move forward.
And that's of course why everyone will be running the Extreme Cut wet weather tyres for this one, as we're getting ready to get going again and restart the second race for the MK GP50s. And once again we will see, and it looks as though we've gone for a full restart, so Mason Foster back on the pole. So Ronnie Harris, I'm sure, will be a little bit disappointed with that, because there was a great getaway from him in the first start. So all to do once again for Ronnie, whereas Mason can possibly see where he went wrong first time round and give it another go.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Mason's been struggling with his starts this weekend. That last race we saw earlier on today, he had improved it, and that possibly helped Ronnie Harris get through here, with Mason still having some work to do on his race starts. But Ronnie Harris, he knows what he has to do now. He's already done it, so he just needs to replicate it. And this also, of course, gives the likes of Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks a chance to correct their wrongs. But they are away now, and Ethan Sparks gets a good start, but it's Ronnie Harris that moves up into second place ahead of Ethan Sparks, and it is Mason Foster who's kept the lead there in first place. Ronnie Harris looking menacing just behind Mason Foster, but Ethan Sparks and Samuel Munson, you can see there in the number 72, they won't be keen to let these guys get away.
No, absolutely not. But once again, another good start from Ronnie Harris, not quite able to get the jump on Mason Foster, who had a much better start this time around. And he will lead the field around, and Ronnie Harris, I'm sure, will be on his tail. Positions being changed in the mid-pack, and always a slight contact between the front wheel and the rear wheel there of one of the fluoro yellow liveried bikes with the orange accent wheels. And yeah, it's going to get mighty tight out there. Some riders in front might be a little bit more tentative on the brakes compared to you, so all the riders are going to be really paying attention to what's not going, well, not only in front of them but also behind.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a lot going on in this grid, as some riders will find the grip quicker than others, and some riders will simply be more daring than others in the opening stages of this race. Lap times from a standing start, though, pretty consistent. A lot of riders very close together, all finding similar amounts of grip at the moment. A rider that's looking very good at the moment is the number 146, who we're currently looking at just behind Ethan Sparks. That's Clayton Edmonds having a look at Ethan Sparks and seeing where he can get through. Just looks like Ethan's struggling a little bit in these wet weather conditions to keep the pace of Mason Foster and Ronnie Harris. Mason Foster fastest across the line on that last lap from a standing start.
Yeah, Ethan Sparks has been a lightning bolt so far this weekend, but as you say, struggling in this wet weather conditions. He dropped back behind Ronnie Harris off the line, and now under real threat from Clayton Edmonds, who's probably having his best run of the weekend so far. So another one of those riders more adept in the rain. You can see it's getting real closer. Ethan Sparks almost holding up Warwick Brady and Clayton Edmonds, as the 146 of Clayton Edmonds and the 99 of Warwick Brady try and close in on Ethan Sparks, who's desperately trying to hold on to this P3.
Yeah, you see Warwick Brady there in 5th spot, the number 99 on the Rapid Fulfillment liveried MK GP50 there. He set the fastest lap of the race on that last lap with a 58.3, so he's really going to need to be looking to get past these two riders in front of him. Clayton Edmonds looks like he has some pace to be able to get past Ethan Sparks, but it just looks like Ethan is struggling to hold on to that pace in these wet weather conditions.
Mason Foster still leading this.
Oh, and that's Clayton Edmonds down. Clayton Edmonds has gone down at turn 12, a corner we've seen take many riders this weekend, and unfortunately the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds has unfortunately suffered the wrath of turn 12.
Yep, absolutely so. He's not the first, and he definitely will not be the last. It seems turn 12 really taking many victims with, as you say, a very fast corner, and it's just the bike getting from underneath so many of these riders. So it's nothing to be ashamed about, because we've seen even the seniors struggling at that corner. So unfortunate for Clayton Edmonds there. He was looking really strong early on. He's trying to get back in the race, but that promotes Warwick Brady now up into 4th, and Blake Wilson, good start from him. He's in 5th place. Brake started 10th on the grid, so making his way up through the field. Plenty of positions made from him. Sam Munson starting to drop back a little bit.
Yeah, Sam Munson's struggling to find the grip in this race, so perhaps just struggling with wet setup there, and very possibly his first time in the wet on this bike. So all these riders, of course, learning their way around these conditions. Looking a little bit further back there, we can see Samuel Munson there just struggling to get the lean angle, it looks like, and a few riders just behind him. Sims and Stevenson seem eager to get past at the moment, but how long will it take Warwick Brady to make a move on Ethan Sparks? Warwick Brady's been able to have a good look at him now. He doesn't want to do anything too rash and risk too much in these conditions. Warwick Brady will be very happy with a podium position, with the Ethan Sparks, Ronnie Harris and Mason Foster pretty much locking out the podiums all weekend long. So to have a new face in Warwick Brady on the podium, I'm sure he'll be very happy with that as he goes around the outside through that corner there. Beautiful stuff from Warwick Brady on the Rapid Fulfillment with the liveried bike with the yellow wheels there, the number 99. Brilliant stuff from him. As we look at Samuel Munson again, this is the battle for 7th place, as Munson really looks to be struggling to find the grip at the moment there, the number 72 with the red bike.
Absolutely so, and yeah, what a move there from Warwick Brady, using the outside to the inside of the double right-hander and then into the left-hander. Great move there, promotes him up onto the podium. You can see he was pushing Ethan Sparks all the way, but yeah, this battle now going on with Jacob Stevenson trying to hold off Ollie Sims and Gardner behind. So yeah, it's getting close, and we've got 5 laps left to go in this one.
Sorry to interrupt, but Warwick Brady has now taken 3rd place away from Ethan Sparks. The number 99 has moved up ahead of Ethan. So now what can Ethan do to come back at the pace of Warwick Brady?
As you see Jacob Stevenson there really doing nicely and exploring different parts of the circuit compared to his competitors around, desperately trying to find a way past Munson. He does it around the outside on the exit turn 5, and turn 5 a particularly tricky corner here, and you can see there Jacob Stevenson, really nice run out of the corner, and the rider with the green accent wheels absolutely soars past Sam Munson, and Sam now falling into the clutches of Ollie Sims and Jacob.
There's been a change for the lead at the front as well. Number 66 Ronnie Harris has gotten past. There we are, we're seeing him now on screen. Number 66 has got past Mason Foster. Looks like Mason has had some sort of a problem, but the man really on a move now is Warwick Brady. Now that he's past Ethan Sparks, he's lapping at a pace nearly 2 seconds quicker than the leader at the moment, Warwick Brady. So Warwick Brady is on an absolute charge, but we have a rider down there through turn 12 again. I believe that's Isaiah Devine down at turn 12, so turn 12 takes another victim in this race. Looking back at Samuel Munson again, fighting for that 8th place at the moment.
Yep, turn 12. Once again, not a favourite for all the riders. Yellow flags are out there, so that will help some of them that are trying to defend their position. Of course, no overtaking under yellow flags.
Like Mason Foster's got some sort of problems because he seemed to be hitting his tank as he was going past our commentary box there, so perhaps some problems for Mason Foster at the moment. Warwick Brady's closing right in on him at the moment with 3 laps to go of this race.
Yep, great run so far for Ronnie Harris, and has made his way up into the lead. Warwick Brady still on a flyer, still the only rider out there in the 56s.
Warwick Brady is now right on the back of Mason Foster, so Warwick Brady really on a charge now and looking to get past the number 88 of Mason Foster.
He's closing right in as they come to the line. It could be almost alongside as we come into turn 1. Can Warwick Brady go down the inside? Not quite close enough, but yeah, is really closing in on Mason Foster. He's got a good run out turn 2, and that's going to give him a run down towards turn 3 and turn 4. And Warwick Brady really putting the charge on. His time came down a little bit. In fact, Ronnie Harris extending his gap at the front to 3.5 seconds with that last lap. Warwick Brady now involved in this battle between himself and Mason Foster. Whilst behind, we still see the 72 of Sam Munson. Really doing a good job, actually, holding off Ollie Sims and Dominic Gardner. We've got 2 laps left to go on this. We've got a rider down on the back straight. That's what is that? Behind Jacob Stevenson. That might be Philip Suriak.
Yeah, very unfortunate end to the race for that rider. As you just saw, the number 88 of Mason Foster coming through the picture as well. Number 72 there, Samuel Munson, we're seeing again. Struggling, I think, for Samuel standards at the moment as we begin the last lap for these guys. Mason Foster now has dropped right through the field. Now he's behind, seems to be behind Samuel Munson, or I believe he's coming round to lap these guys now. So the number 72 we're looking at is about to be lapped by Ronnie Harris at the moment, who's doing a great job at the front of this race. Warwick Brady is up into 2nd place on the number 99 machine on an absolute charge, still faster than the race leader, but unfortunately with 1 lap to go, there's not quite enough time for Warwick Brady to catch the number 66 of Ronnie Harris. We were just commenting on the livery earlier today, Gareth, of Ronnie Harris, and how we really like that white livery with the red stripe down here. It looks nice, a nice classic style for him, and it's turning into a nice classic win as he goes through the final corner of this race.
Absolutely, and it's going to be Ronnie Harris taking that flag, and a really, really strong win for the 66. Warwick Brady not that far behind, 2.5 seconds. Fantastic race of Warwick, lit up the timing sheets. Mason Foster able to come home in 3rd, with Ethan Sparks not enjoying the wet weather. Blake Wilson, good run for him in 5th. Harrison McKay in 6th, Sam Munson in 7th, and in fact it was Dominic Gardner unfortunately went down at turn 12 and not Philip Suriak, but yep, it's Ollie Sims in 8th, Jacob Stevenson in 9th, and Clayton Edmonds, who managed to recover back to 10th place. But Ronnie Harris, he had a great start in the first attempt of getting the race underway. Didn't quite get past Mason Foster in the restart, but once he was into that position, just controlled the race from the front.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant ride from Ronnie Harris. Didn't push harder than he needed to, and managed to get that win. Warwick Brady definitely rider of the race for me. There it is confirmed then. Ronnie Harris, the number 66, takes the win ahead of Warwick Brady. You can see that fastest lap of the race went to Warwick Brady. Tremendous pace there, almost 2 seconds quicker than Ronnie Harris. Mason Foster it was then, the number 88, who took 3rd place ahead of Ethan Sparks and Blake Wilson rounding out the top 5. The number 61 of Harrison McKay took 6th place ahead of number 72 Samuel Munson. Ollie Sims in 8th. 9th place went to the 76 of Jacob Stevenson, and the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds in 10th place.
Absolutely fantastic win there for Ronnie Harris, and So it was absolutely, I'm sure he'll be delighted with that victory. And behind Warwick Brady, what a race from him, just absolutely lighting up those timing sheets, going purple by 2 seconds at points during that one. So yeah, what a way to finish on the podium. Maybe not the top step, but yeah, fighting through the field and picking up an absolutely mega result in second.
All these riders then eager to get this race underway and ready for this race to start. You can just see them there all lining up and ready for this one. So 2 races all together after this race, but this is the final race for the MK GP50s. Their focus is on the flag now as the engine revs rise, and we have a crash off the start there. That's Samuel Munson who's dropped it on the line. Very unfortunate start for Samuel Munson, and the number 146 there also of Clayton Edmonds unfortunately got caught up in that incident and couldn't quite get past the bike lying down on the grid there. But out front then it is Mason Foster who's held on just about to that lead, and Ronnie Harris right on his back. We can see the rapid fulfillment bike there of Warwick Brady, who we saw was so fast earlier on today. He's had a brilliant start and found his way up into 3rd position already. So Warwick Brady, a name that we can really expect to see pushing the front of this race. He's going to want to find a way past the number 66 of Ronnie Harris there, because you can just see there that Mason Foster is getting away there, number 88, with that lovely livery on that bike there.
Yeah, Mason Foster, great start. He's currently got himself a pretty sizable lead as they cross the line behind Ronnie Harris after a good start. Managed to get himself briefly up into the lead of this one, dropped back behind Mason Foster, and he's now trying to fend off Warwick Brady. As you say, was absolutely magnificent in a previous race earlier on in the rain, and he's now looking at Ronnie Harris. You can see closing, not quite close enough into the long hairpin at the back end of the circuit at turn 7. But Ronnie Harris, after a good start, is now starting to struggle a little bit, and it's allowing Mason Foster to make a little bit of a gap between himself and 2nd position. Warwick Brady once again on the pace immediately in this MK GP50 bike and closing in on Ronnie Harris. Ronnie Harris once again looking at picking up some decent points in the championship, with Mason Foster of course having picked up a couple of race wins so far this weekend. And Mason Foster comes across the line and does a 55.4 and well, a second faster than anyone else. So Mason Foster really enjoying himself out there in this early stages. You can see Ronnie Harris looking behind him briefly just to see where Warwick Brady is. Ethan Sparks is back in 4th place, Harrison McKay in 5th, and Blake Wilson in 6th.
Yeah, you got to think Warwick Brady's going to really be wanting to try and get past Ronnie Harris at the moment and have a go at catching down the number 88 of Mason Foster. Mason Foster setting a superb pace out the front, but Ronnie Harris just struggling to keep on that pace. But we want to see what the number 99 of Warwick Brady can do once he's got some clear air in front of him. Will he be able to catch down Mason Foster, who's currently leading this race? Mason Foster just comes round to lap Samuel Munson there, and that might cost him some time as he has to sit behind him through the first sector. Samuel Munson, who we saw unfortunately go down off of the start line. Mason Foster now trying to get underneath Samuel Munson there, just manages to make it happen. Warwick Brady still behind Ronnie Harris at the moment. The number 66 and the number 99 absolutely together at the moment. Ethan Sparks there back in 4th place, just struggling at the moment to stay on the back of these guys, but still a brilliant ride from Ethan in 4th spot.
Yeah, really tricky moment there for Mason Foster as he looked to lap the 72 of Sam Munson, and you can see Sam Munson probably frustrated after that early mistake off the line that dropped him right to the back of the field. And
Ronnie Harris has done a good job now of putting the lapped Sam Munson in between him and Warwick Brady. So he's now bought himself a little bit of breathing space. So will Warwick Brady be able to close that gap back down to Ronnie Harris? We saw how fast he was earlier on in the rain, but just doesn't look like he quite has the blistering pace he had before, although he is right back onto the rear wheel of the number 66 again.
Yeah, absolutely. And what this has done with the Sam Munson being lapped is really hurt Ethan Sparks, who's been caught right behind him. And Sam Munson is in a race of his own at the moment. You can see Ethan Sparks is only just going to be able to clear him now. He must have lost 2, if not more, seconds behind. He's dropped right behind this battle between Ronnie Harris and between Warwick Brady. And Brady's looking to go to the outside and get a good run on Ronnie Harris down the back straight in towards the penultimate corner. He's got a good run, but it's not going to be close enough to get the move done. He's sent it down the inside to some lap traffic. But Ronnie Harris doing a good job at the moment to hold on to position. And we've got a rider down at the moment.
That's
back
the
on
number
the bike.
11. That's Harry Payne that's gone down, but he's rejoining the race. He was enjoying 8th position there. Would have been a good ride from him, but unfortunately crashed out, but is able to rejoin now.
Yep, but it is still up at the front, Mason Foster, that is doing the job that he was planning to do when he was leading from the front, and he's currently got himself a healthy lead. Ronnie Harris is still doing some brilliant defensive driving to hold off a very fast Warwick Brady.
Yeah, you can see Warwick Brady's looking really desperate to try and get past the number 66 now, trying absolutely everything, trying to go every side of Ronnie Harris at the moment. So I think it's only a matter of time before we see Warwick Brady try and make a move stick on the number 66 on that rapid fulfillment machine there.
We'll see if the lap traffic of the number 90, Ezia Devine, is going to cause any issues. Warwick Brady goes to the outside. They go side by side around the lap traffic. Warwick Brady takes the position. What a move, using the lap traffic to his advantage. Moves up into 2nd place. What a move, opportunistic from Warwick Brady. Getting around the outside, getting a good run into turn 1. And Ronnie Harris now finds himself back down in 3rd place. And with it all to do with 5 laps left to go in this one.
Now the real question is, what can Warwick Brady do now that he has some clean air in front of him? We've seen how fast he can be earlier on today. Looks like he's already got a bit of breathing space ahead of Ronnie Harris, but can Ronnie Harris respond and go with him? We'll find out. The fastest lap of the race was last time round for the man we're looking at now, number 88, Mason Foster. He's setting a blistering pace at the front of this one and absolutely enjoying life in these wet weather conditions with a hefty lead. 4 laps to go for these guys then, as Mason Foster continues to extend his lead at the front at the moment.
Yeah, Mason Foster really impressive there out on the wet circuit. Warwick Brady, as you say, with a bit of clear air, hasn't managed to drop Ronnie Harris. Ronnie staying with him and trying to reclaim that 2nd position that he held since the start of the race. But we know that Warwick Brady has got some really good pace in the wet, and he's shown it off already this afternoon in some of the other classes. So yeah, Warwick, you can see just getting a little bit of a better run out of the long hairpin at the back end of the circuit at turn 7, and bridging just a little bit of a gap between himself and Ronnie Harris. He can probably take a little bit of a breather, but the man at the front leading by over 8 seconds is Mason Foster, and yeah, really impressive drive from the young man.
Yeah, well, yeah, such a mature, impressive ride from Foster. He sorted his start out in this race. He got a good start. We saw that he was struggling with those in some of the other races, but got a very good start in this one. He's just weaving his way through some lap traffic now, and absolutely incredibly mature ride from Mason. He's just out the front, hitting all his markers, doing everything correct. He doesn't have to push too hard. He's got an 8.6 second gap now, so all he needs to do is keep it consistent, keep it on the black stuff, and he'll be looking good to take this race win with 2.5 laps to go of this final race for the MK GP50s. Warwick Brady putting in some really good pace just behind 54.8 on that last lap. Not quite quick enough to catch Mason Foster, and definitely not enough time to catch the number 88, but Warwick Brady doing a good job to distance himself from the number 66 of Ronnie Harris.
Yeah, you can see how wet it is out there. A lot of water on the lens, and it's you can see it's really starting to, or these drivers are really starting to acclimatise to it, getting faster and faster. As Mason Foster just cuts through this lap traffic. A nice battle brewing between Blake Wilson and Harrison McKay in 5th and 6th position, but with 2 laps left to go, you can see Mason Foster getting grip on the outside, on the not on the racing line, sweeps around the outside there of some lap traffic, and yeah, Mason Foster just commanding at the front. A 7.8 second gap is what he's maintained over the last few laps, and it's looking as though he will be picking up another race win here in the MK GP50s. Their final race of the weekend, round 1 and 2, covered here at Lydd in South East Kent. and Mason Foster, I'm sure, will be absolutely delighted with his haul of points as he leaves the southeast of England, and it's looking as though with one lap to go that he's going to extend what is looking like a gap at the top as he picks up another victory to add to his tally that he's already picked up so far this weekend.
One lap to go then for the number 88, and he will take the final race win for the MK GP50s. Warwick Brady looking comfortable in second, 0.6 of a second ahead of Ronnie Harris, but Ronnie Harris now right on his back wheel, so on this final lap Ronnie Harris could take second place away from the number 99 of Warwick Brady. Mason Foster right out in front and is definitely looking good to take this race win, but some lap traffic now for Warwick Brady and Ronnie Harris to try and get through. Warwick Brady trying to go up the inside there. We didn't quite see how that turned out, but the number 88 of Mason Foster coming into the final corner. Brilliant ride for Mason Foster as he comes to take the checkered flag, and that is the checkered flag for Mason Foster. Number 88 takes the win. Brilliant mature ride from him, absolutely perfect ride from him, and the number 99 there of Warwick Brady does take second place ahead of Ronnie Harris.
Yep. By 0.8 of a second, Warwick Brady does take that second place finish. So, yeah, brilliant move to take second for Warwick Brady, and well deserved. But what a race from Mason Foster. Just controlled it once again from the start, and he takes another race win on the season. Warwick Brady in second. Ronnie Harris picking up another podium this weekend. So he's collecting some podium medals, it seems, and doing a very good job. Ethan Sparks unable to get himself on the podium, but he ends the weekend in a pretty strong fashion, staying in the top 5 for the majority of every race he has entered so far. But it is Mason Foster, your race winner by almost 8 seconds over Warwick Brady. Ronnie Harris, the 66, in third place, with Ethan Sparks in fourth. Harrison McKay managed to hold off Blake Wilson for 5th position. Blake picking up 6th. Clayton Edmonds recovering back to 7th, with Cameron Sewell in 8th. Ollie Sims in 9th, and Harry Payne rounding out the top 10 in the number 11 machine. But it is Mason Foster that, as you say, a very, very mature driver, and what a brilliant way to start his weekend, his season here in 2020, the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship.